The Grand Ohio Mall. It's grand, it's a mall, and it's located in Kentucky. I'm not quite sure where this mall is based off of. The Crossroads Mall is based off the Dawn of the Dead films, but this mall doesn't seem to have any real-life influence that I can find. There isn't even a Grand Ohio Mall in Ohio. It's just weird that nobody talks about this. But anyways, a mall in a zombie apocalypse sounds like a great place to hole up and wait for this all to blow over. The Grand Ohio Mall in this case has a good number of spots for food, weapons, tools, clothing, books, pretty much everything you could possibly want to survive the end of the world. It's just a shame that the zombies got there first. It's also a shame that we spawn on the helipad with no weapons, and no easy way to get what we need to survive without going through hordes of the undead. I've seen a few other content creators do this challenge with varying degrees of success, and I thought, well, that doesn't look so hard, let me just... So after a few test runs, I got serious and formulated a plan. The first objective was finding a source of food, which was a little annoying because most of the food was on the ground floor, with thousands of zombies. There were spots on the second floor to get food, but I didn't know exactly where they were. I took my usual negative traits, which included starting underweight, which wasn't ideal. Normally, I can immediately start shoving fruit in my mouth upon starting a run, to start bringing my weight back up to get rid of the negative trait, as it impacts your strength and endurance, limiting how effective you are in combat, among other things. Not exactly one to inflict upon yourself when you clear out thousands of zombies, but oh well. I also very stupidly took Slow Learner and Pacifist. Both reduce the experience you gain from leveling up your regular skills and your weapon skills, which didn't sound like an issue at first, but it made grinding out levels for some skills take way too long, and I also lost out of a lot of potential levels that would have made things a bit easier. Also, a huge issue with taking the Pacifist trait is that there aren't a lot of weapons readily available when you start the run. You have to clear out a few hundred zombies to get to the stores that have more and better weapons, meaning you need to make the most out of the weapons you do have, which would have been easier since the more you level up your weapon skills, the more damage they do and less endurance they cost when using them. Pacifist also affects maintenance. The higher your maintenance, the better chance you have that you won't lose durability with your weapons while using them. If I did this again or something similar, I probably wouldn't take these traits. But again, oh well. Starting off on day 1, I attempt to loot the 2 buildings on the roof, only to find that the storage room in the second building, which usually spawns a decent amount of weapons and tools you can use to get started, was locked. Not great. Armed with nothing but my own 2 feet, I start clearing out the zombies in the immediate vicinity, slowly pulling zombies off in small chunks so I can stomp them to death. After getting a bit more protection and a watch, I creep down the service hallways, making my way to a storage room so I can get some actual weapons. The storage room yields quite a bit in terms of tools, and a few weapons as well. I managed to find a whole ass crowbar, which will definitely make fighting off the hordes of the undead just a little easier. I quickly arm myself and run to open the door to deal with the zombie on the other side. I want to try as much as possible to keep doors intact, to assist with slowing zombies down and making it easier to break line of sight with zombies in case I need to run away. Turns out that one zombie has a few friends and they quickly pile in. I push them all down and shut the door to slow down the rest of the zombies while I deal with the smaller group. And this is the main strat I'll be using to deal with most of the zombies I come across. After clearing out a few more zombies, I finally made my way to the store proper. Thankfully there was not really a whole lot of zombies to deal with in the store, and I can get some more looting done. Although there really isn't anything of value, other than some containers to hold water. Moving back down the hall, the zombies have broken down a few doors, so I scope out the rooms to make sure I won't have to suddenly deal with 20 or so zombies randomly wandering into the hall. I deal with a few before I become exhausted, and I have to run back to see through the roof to recover before dealing with more. Unfortunately, I ended up drawing the attention of the zombies in this room here, which in most of my attempts, for whatever reason, has a stupid amount of zombies in it. Considering it's an empty room with nothing in it at all, and no other doors to get in or out, it's a little annoying that there's consistently so many zombies in there. I run away and pray they don't break down that door, and they bring down this one, because I'm not in a state to deal with them. Unfortunately, exactly that happens, so I run further up to sit down and regain my endurance as I beat down the doors. After some rest, the zombie makes its way up, so I take care of it, and the rest of its friends follow. I make great use of the zombie conga line technique and dispatch the rest of the zombies. I am, however, now a little hungry, and don't have any food. I decided to venture a little further to find some. I find a break room, and get a little sustenance for the time being. I cleared a few more zombies nearby to reduce the chances to wander up while I'm sleeping, and then after a bit more exploring, I finally get tired and return to my roof base to sleep. I wake up and do some inventory management before heading down again, and I take some time to patrol already cleared areas to reduce the chances that I'll get pinched if I get chased down this hallway. I explore a bit further and discover what seems to be like a restaurant of some sort. Whilst clearing out the zombies, I get blessed with a duffel bag zombie, which will make collecting and moving loot way easier. I end up in this never-ending cycle of picking off a few zombies, and then since I'm making noise fighting those zombies, that noise brings more zombies, and then since I'm making noise fighting those zombies, that noise brings more zombies, and then since I'm making noise fighting those zombies, I'm sure you get it. The way sound works in this game should probably be redone or at least looked at, as the zombies I'm pulling seem to be coming from directly below me, and somehow they're hearing me through the floor and making their way upstairs to get their heads caved in. Most of the day is spent in this loop until I get tired and run back to base. I make my way back down and unfortunately it's quite dark, making combat a little bit more difficult and sketching me out. While I would prefer to wait until the sun's up, I don't really have a whole lot of a choice, because I need the food sooner rather than later. I do thankfully clear out just enough zombies so I can grab some food, before pulling back to deal with more of the zombies coming up from the floor below. I grab as much food as I can, as well as a mini fridge or microwave from the break room I found earlier, so I can store the food in my base to slow the spoilage. I proceed to stuff my face with donuts to raise my weight, and then head back down. I loot the rest of the kitchen before starting to explore the side of the second floor. I repeat the same zombie killing strats and spend a good chunk of the day clearing out the zombies to progress further. Despite me shoving pastries in my mouth like there's no tomorrow, my weight is still dropping. Which isn't ideal. Being underweight sucks, but being extremely underweight is way worse, and it'll make things slow to a crawl. I push forward to look for another source of food, preferably a place with higher calorie food. I have the brilliant idea to perhaps barricade off the stairs to prevent more zombies from coming up. I forgot that zombies can definitely break things a player places down, but ultimately it still buys me time to deal with them. I continue to explore and stumble across an annoying amount of zombies that I can pull back to deal with, employing next level window strats in the process. And then I start playing zombie whack-a-mole as this zombie starts busting down my barricade, but it's just out of reach so I can't actually do anything about it. And then the rest of my day is spent fighting my way down this hallway. Make my way to whatever is on the other side of this door. I continue making my way to the other end of the hall. Somehow, despite the circumstances, I'm really bored. I guess being trapped in a mall with thousands of zombies and needing to fight to survive is boring? Who knew? I managed to pull way too many zombies I can handle at once, so I do my best to thin them out and break them into smaller groups. I unfortunately become exhausted, so I decide to run back to the roof to rest and break line of sight for most of the zombies. I recover some endurance, and then start my way back down the hall. And then my crowbar breaks. I don't have another weapon that's really comparable to it. Also, take a moment to point out that while you're sitting, you can rotate your character around to keep a lookout for zombies. Useful for moments like this where you don't want to lose progress and go back to base the rest, but you need to rest before you can continue forward. I make my way back to the other end, and I'm quite pissed off to see exactly how many zombies I'm going to have to deal with. Again, I pull off a huge chunk of zombies, and I run back to the roof to rest and eat. It's also 1 PM and I'm tired, so I take a little nap before continuing the rampage. I make a bit more progress before getting EP again, so I return to base. At this point, things aren't going horrible, but they're not going great either. My weight continues to drop, even though I'm eating lots of food. So much so that I'm pretty much out of food entirely. I'm running out of proper melee weapons as well. I continue stomping zombies' heads in, and make my way towards what will hopefully be a decent amount of food. but no matter how many zombies I kill, the horde doesn't seem to thin. I ended up finding a key on one of the zombies' bodies, which unlocked the storage room on the roof. I looked through it and found a snow shovel, which was incredibly satisfying to use. I did notice why the amount of zombies never seems to decrease. Zombies I pull from downstairs seem to wander into the store instead of following me for whatever reason. Not to mention, for no reason at all, zombies will just migrate upstairs to reinforce the upstairs group instead of sticking with their group downstairs. Which is great. I love having all my progress be repeatedly reset. I clear out as many as I can before I get tired, and I go back and sleep. I go back to clearing out the store, and for whatever reason, a huge amount of zombies have moved into the surrounding area. I drag them off and use the same window strats again to thin the herd. The store is nearly cleared before a group of zombies migrates upstairs, and I have to drag them all the way back to the roof to clear them out. I head back, and again I'm pinched from both sides, so I'm forced to pull back and deal with the zombies from the floor below. It is at this point for the first time since starting my run that I've become queasy. Which is impressive. For the amount of time I'm spending around dead bodies and resting on top of them, this should have happened way sooner. I'll have to go back to base to sleep it off. I'm now completely out of actual food, and I make my guy drink an entire thing of vegetable oil, which makes him sad. Sorry, dude. I finally make enough progress to actually get into the store proper, to find out it's a pharmacy. It still has food, but definitely not in abundance. But it's still enough to hold me over for a few more days while I find a more secure supply. So with a bit of food secured, I bring it back to base and take a nap. Upon waking, I realize I've been neglecting to explore the south side of the map on the second floor. I take a look and see basically no zombies. And also what seems to be another food store. My character is now tired, however, so I return back to base to rest up. In the morning I set out to explore further. And just like the north side, the sounds of me fighting zombies on the second floor begin to draw zombies up from the floor below. I spend a fair bit of time cutting these guys around before making my way back. I clear out a few zombies and discover some sort of meat butcher store. Loads of perishable and non-perishable food. Little annoying to think about how close and how much easier it was to get to this spot, but also imagine a good number of zombies probably occupied the area in the first few days and only migrated away recently. I get the food back to base so I can freeze up the perishables to prevent further spoilage. I decide to continue the north side exploration. Only on my way over, I hear a very unfortunate sound. I quickly weigh my options before deciding to shove myself into a corner to wait for the helicopter to pass. I'm not exactly sure the full extent of the helicopter's effects on the zombies in the mall. From where I was hunkered down, it seemed like it pulled most of the zombies down from the second floor, and maybe quite a few outside the building entirely, which was definitely welcomed, but annoying that it could be a few hundred zombies off my kill count. But still. I continue looting the pharmacy, and once again I'm ambushed from behind and forced to kite them away. I utilize the window strat again, and somehow this dude gets a hit on me while I don't get a hit on him. Nice. I go back to base to rest up and continue in the morning. I go back to the pharmacy, and after some time I finally kill enough zombies where I can actually loot it somewhat safely. He holds a bit more food and a decent amount of medical supplies, which I return to base. I decide I should probably cook all this meat while the power's still on, because it's set to go off at any point. And seeing as we're on day 10, it's probably soon. After cooking, I opt to sit around for a bit and attempt to heal up and fix my character's sleep schedule, as I become way too tired early in the day now. On day 11, I do a bit more exploring in the middle of the mall, and get some more meat to cook up. Again, despite me being constantly stuffed with food, I continue to lose weight. At this point I'm now very underweight, so I have a lot less strength and endurance. I have to go and finish clearing out the upper floors, so I can begin clearing out the lower floors. On my way to do so, I hear a car alarm go off. This annoyingly pulls a lot of zombies towards me, but also sort of clears out a bunch of zombies as well. So much so that I'm able to walk around the south side basically unopposed. I begin clearing the west side, and once again my day is ruined by zombies coming up from the bottom floor. At this point I'm exhausted, and I'll have to leave for the day and deal with them tomorrow. Before that, I did however find another break room, which had a cereal and a can of oats in it, which are both very good for me calorie-wise. I set off for day 12, when I am immediately bothered by a few zombies right outside my base. With ample food and no longer losing weight, I decided to spend the rest of the day going through areas I've already cleared just to make sure they stay clear. It's annoying trying to kite zombies around, but ending up sandwiching yourself in the process. I also spent a bit of time repairing my weapons, as I don't really have a whole lot to use right now. On day 13 I raid the sushi restaurant, but don't really get a whole lot in return, as it's all mostly rotten fish. I do get jump scared by whatever little visual glitch this is. I've noticed that there's a hardware store I can loot to replace my weapons, so I focus on clearing that out. which again is not easy, as I'm bothered by zombies coming up from the floor below, and a weird number of zombies camped inside the service hallway. I managed to clear out enough that I'm able to get inside the store and find a second crowbar and some other weapons. Day 14 and 15 are pretty much the exact same. I spend most of both days further clearing out the upper floor, while not really looting anything too interesting. I do take my first steps downstairs on day 15, and find little to no zombies down there. By now, it seems most zombies have either migrated upstairs and have been killed by me, or pulled away for the helicopter or the car alarm. There's still a few hundred left, but they're very spread out and not really much of a threat. So, towards the end of day 15, I spent a bit more time clearing out the area around one of the sets of stairs on the north side, close to the food court and gun store. Doing this, I see there's basically no zombies in or around the gun store at all, so I decide to take a peek inside before that changes. I find loads of guns and ammo, enough that I can probably clear out the rest of them all pretty easily with it. And on day 16 I do exactly that. I take my pump shotgun and a few hundred shells, and begin completely wiping out the remaining zombies. I have barely enough ammo to get through all of them, and I have to use a hand axe to finish off the last few. But in 16 days, I pretty much cleared out the entirety of them all. Enjoy a nice little walk around the first floor, seeing what stores are around. I do spend a bit of time looking for a generator and a water fountain. The generator for after the power goes out, because there's probably a ton of perishable food you can freeze in order to survive way longer without leaving, and a water fountain for fishing. You wouldn't really find fish in a proper mall water fountain, but if they use the same water tiles like they use in the lakes and rivers, then maybe you could get some fish out of it too. I don't find either, unfortunately, and even worse is what I thought was grass in the middle of the mall is just carpet, so farming is completely out of the question. There is enough food in here that you can probably survive months without leaving, but I was hoping you could become completely self-sufficient and never have to leave once you've run out of food that you've looted. All the days sort of blur together after this point. Once the mall's clear, there's really no threat to me other than an occasional zombie wandering in from outside. I spend these days disassembling furniture and grinding out the required skill points to build water catchers. I use a lot of the spare wood to completely barricade off the bottom floor so nothing can get in. Well, I mean, they can still get in, but it takes a bit more effort to do so. I almost ended on day 16, but that's a pretty weak YouTube title if I'm being honest. But that's it. 30 days survived in the Grand Ohio Mall. This was fun, but also quite annoying. There's hours of footage of me just going through and clearing the same area over and over again. I have no idea why zombies migrate the way they do, but man, it's stupid. The challenge is done though, and I look forward to hopefully doing something in a bit more open space. Thanks for watching. Go follow me on Twitch, I might end up streaming the next challenge playthrough. Who knows?